You're watching The World Now with Nifemi Oguntoye. We're continuing with the developments in Africa. A civil society group and supporters of the runner-up in last year's disputed presidential election in Mozambique, Venancio Mondlane, says at least a dozen people were injured after Mozambican police violently dispersed a protest led by the opposition leader. Eyewitnesses and his aides say the police fired live rounds at the opposition leader's convoy and the anti-government protesters who had joined him on the streets of the capital Maputo. Neither the police nor the authorities have commented. The protest came as the Mozambican president Daniel Chapo, who took office in January, was due to sign a deal to end months of protests over the disputed election after talks with other political parties. Mr. Mondlane, who has been calling for the protest, was excluded from the talks. In response to the incident, Interior Minister Paulo Chachin told reporters the police had a mission to prevent any attempt to disrupt the deal signing ceremony. An African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says Uganda's Ebola caseload has increased to 14, with a new cluster emerging from a 4-year-old child who recently died at the Infectious Disease Center. Dr. Ngasho Ngogo of the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says 3 of 5 new cases have been confirmed as Ebola, with 2 cited as probable Ebola. The Africa CDC reports that there is no direct epidemiological link between the new cluster and another one accounting for 9 previous Ebola cases. It also says Ebola is now spreading in 5 of Uganda's 146 districts, which includes Kampala, the capital, where the outbreak was declared on 30th January. 2 Ebola deaths have been confirmed. Tracing contacts is key to stemming the spread of Ebola. There are no approved vaccines for the Sudan strain of Ebola that is currently affecting people in Uganda. Now, the government of Mali says it's suspended licenses for foreign artisanal gold mining companies. This comes as a result of a series of fatal accidents in the West African country, one of Africa's top 3 gold producers. Artisanal gold mining is estimated to produce around 30 tons of gold a year, and that represents 6% of Mali's annual gold production. Government says the measure is designed to protect citizens of the nation. According to the U.S., more than 10% of Mali's population depend on the mining sector for income. Mali is one of the top 3 gold-producing countries in Africa. And to Europe now, at least 18 people, including 4 children, have been wounded in an overnight Russian attack against Ukraine. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia also targeted energy infrastructure that ensures normal life in this country. According to the country's Air Force, the French-built Mirage jets were used for the first time to push back the attack. This comes after the suspension of military.
In reaction, the Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has thanked Mr. Trump for reconsidering the effect of his decision. She says she has had an excellent and respectful phone conversation with President Trump, adding that the 2 countries would work together to stem the flow of opioid fentanyl from Mexico into the U.S. and curb the trafficking of guns. On her part, Canada's finance minister says her country would in turn hold back on its threat to impose a second round of retaliatory tariffs on U.S. products.
Values about creating a better, safer, more prosperous world.
Thursday morning, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he had had a colorful conversation about tariffs in a phone call with President Trump, emphasizing that Canada's goal is to get all tariffs removed. A White House official says about 50% of U.S. imports from Mexico and 62% from Canada may still face tariffs. Those proportions could change as firms change their practices in response to the executive order signed by President Trump. The White House officials also say that on the 2nd of April, recommendations for tailored reciprocal trade duties on countries around the world will be unveiled by the U.S. government.